Julien, there you are. How are you? How's Paris? How are you feeling?
Good morning, Max. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Summer holidays behind us now. Like, kind of looking for the next one. But except for that, everything's great. How are you doing? Looks like you got the couch in the background, so not so good, I assume.
I'm scarred. I'm doing this on a temporary laptop that actually it's not even a temporary laptop. I'm doing this on my wife's laptop because mine is pretty much belly up. It all started, there are these two little USB-C ports, and this one died. I think it died because I had a power cord where noticeably the outer, the kind of the black wrapping around the wires came off. And I didn't see anything with the little wires inside, but somewhere I'm worried that it, some of those stripped a little bit and they connected and it shorted. So I lost this port. I couldn't use it anymore. And I have multiple things that I like to plug in, and I have a little external thing that lets me plug in multiple. And so I was just limping along. It was fine. It wasn't that big of a deal. But then the other one started getting flaky, and things like I can't see my camera anymore, and just all kinds of weird problems. Finally, I got to the point where I'm calling IT and saying, this isn't okay anymore. And I got a guy who helped me for a while, and then he had to go home for the evening. And then the other guy, Brandon, who is by far the hero of this story, he came in and he started working on my laptop, and we tried a few things. And eventually we got to the point where it's like, okay, there is a hardware problem in the computer, which meant a lot of plug this thing in. Oh, that doesn't work. Plug that thing in. Oh, wait, oh, no, it doesn't work. And, some of these things, it looked like, it was things being flaky. So it looked like it worked, and it would be a day or two. So over several weeks, we finally got to the point where it's like, okay, there's a real problem here. So I got the motherboard swapped out. It's a Dell. Dell corporate service was amazing. The guy showed up in his 2-hour window. 30 minutes later, pleasant guy. We sat there and chitter chatted while he swapped out the motherboard. 30 minutes later, motherboard's in, computer's ready to go. Life is good. He toodles on his way. That's when the encryption software kicked in. And that's the villain in this story. There is encryption software on the hard drive. So instead of my hard drive working just fine, it was going through this reprocessing thing. And after several hours, it came up and it just crapped out. So I couldn't see my hard drive. Now we got it to the point where it could come up and the guy could call in remotely, and he was doing a bunch of stuff and trying things and stuff, and finally gave up on that. The only thing to do is reformat the hard drive and start over. So he and again, this poor guy, he's like spending a whole bunch of time with me doing the initial troubleshooting, getting into my computer, doing a whole bunch of stuff to try to make the drive work, finally giving up on that. Now it's we're going to reformat he's got back everything up, and then he's going to reformat the hard drive and reload all the stuff, the off of images and all that kind of stuff. At this point, I'm visiting my brother. I have a day off visiting my brother, and I'm like every half hour. So I'm like, hey, time out, Sam. I got to go talk to this guy. And I go sneak out, and, he's in the back. He spent like half a day that day just working on this thing. And whatever this encryption software was, it it couldn't get it to work, couldn't get it to work, couldn't get it to work. Finally got to the point where uh, he was able to hack through all the different things that were in the way and get it working. So that was Friday. Great. Everything's good. Monday, it craps out again. And so he's back in there spending hours trying to figure out what's going on with the thing. Finally, at this point, it's down to, okay, we're going to turn off the encryption so you can limp through. And we're just going to send you a new laptop. This isn't working. All this stuff isn't happening. And so that was, several days into all of this. And now I'm at the point where, and I think there'll be a separate story here, but I'll at least tease it a little bit. Finally, they gave up and they said, okay, we're sending you a new laptop. I'm working on an image that the guy set up for me on my wife's computer, which thank God she works for the school district and school isn't going right now. So I'm able to use her laptop for a few days. Sure enough, the FedEx was supposed to arrive on Thursday and now it's Monday. So it's snake bit to the point where even just the shipping can't go right. So there's a couple things I can do on this, but the way the security software works and the way the company works, anything from Microsoft, I can't use. So I can't do email. I can't do Team. We use Teams, so I can't do Teams. I can't do Word or Excel, and so I can't work at all on it. So now I have an image in this other laptop. It's clunky, it's slow, the configuration's weird, and my poor wife, I don't know what I'm slowly tweaking things to make stuff work, and I'm sure she's going to get it back and be like, what the hell did you do to my computer? So that's my tale of woe. I've
That's
had
a bad one.
a couple of months of not good and a couple of weeks now of broken. The last point I'll make is, the guy doing all the tech support on this, he really knows his stuff. This is just a really weird, really awful problem that he's never seen before. And, it's taking a long time to figure out, not through lack of competence or anything like that. This guy's on top of it and he can't figure it out. It's that whatever happened here is that ugly.
All right. First of all, sorry for you. It doesn't sound like a fun experience. I think I'd like to start by listing the good and the bad before we get into the ugly here. The good is I've not heard you a single time talk about hold time on the phone line.
No.
Either you just don't want to mention it or that was very good. Second thing is it sounds like most of the time you spoke to the same person over the course of multiple weeks, if not months, which means there is consistency and there is follow-up, and it feels like a great experience from that perspective.
Again, this is like internal at my company. I can get him on Teams. He's phenomenally responsive. There was another guy who would get involved. He got involved 2 different times. And this is how much I respect the guy that I'm working with, Brandon. He wouldn't even say, oh, so-and-so is stumped. I'm taking over now. He'd say, oh, it's, and I think the other guy was in Europe. So it was pretty, it was getting late. He's like, oh, it's getting too late for him. So I'm going to help out for a while. It just, he was that level of gentleness, that level of, anything we tried to do or worked on. He was just like, can I ask you one more thing? And just his people skills are phenomenal.
The only bad thing, I mean, shit happens, right? And we've talked about this with your car. We've talked about this with your friends on the airline last time who tried to call simultaneously the hotline, and you just don't know when the car is going to be fixed because you don't know what the problem is. You don't know when the plane is going to be fixed because You don't know what
We
you don't
talked
know,
about it
right?
with your roof.
Don't talk about this. Yes, we did.
Sorry.
We did. So you don't know what you don't know, and when there's a problem and you can't identify it, it may take 5 minutes or it might take 5 months. You've no idea. The, However, there is a certain point where if it has been weeks or even if it has been days, probably there is a better solution. And here's a solution, if not on day one, if not on week one, by month one, there was another solution, which was here is another laptop. Maybe it's your new laptop. Maybe it's a temporary laptop. But at least for you to be able to work and for me to be more efficient, because doing it remotely is,
Painful.
remote support is great up to a certain point. But then comes a time where having the laptop in front of you is so much more efficient than doing it over the phone with TeamViewer or whatever it is you're using to fix the laptop. There are better solutions, and the better solution is get the laptop in front of you and try to fix it. And if it's never a waste of money for a company to invest into a new laptop, because sooner or later, if not for you, there's going to be a
Right.
need for a new laptop for a newcomer or replacement or whatever. So they could have taken your laptop back to either fix it, trash it, or refurbish it for the next user. Could make it brand new by changing a couple of pieces. I'm just wondering why it took 2 months of remote fixing, which was bad for the IT guy, hero or not, and not great for you because I guess it was probably hard to get shit done while having
Yeah.
IT
Yeah.
working on your laptop
So
in the same time.
yeah, two thoughts on that. Some of it was there were a couple rounds of it appeared to be working and it would work for a few days. So I think that was a piece of it. I think there are two policy issues that created a whole lot of the trouble here. One of them was the level of surety that this thing is absolutely dead before they would swap. Because the guy I was working with, this became more and more transparent as we went along. He was like, okay, we need to do these things and then I can swap it. Towards the end, it came down to that sort of thing. It's like, here's the things we need to do. I think you're right. I think that policy bar of what it should take to get a swap out, that was too high. The other thing is the security software. None of this would have happened if we didn't have this encryption software on the hard drive that went bad. And I've had other issues with that where it got in the way of, but I'm not going to get into that story. But so I think that was a big issue as well. So I think this could have been a lot less painful in ways that wouldn't have hurt the company if the bar for we're going to replace it. It doesn't have to be, hey, anything you got, yeah, we're just going to give you a new one. But I think you're right. The hoops they made this guy jump through before he had permission to swap it was too high.
And I'm even wondering if once you've reached a certain point, it's not even better and cheaper to say that's the manufacturer responsibility, and probably is going to cost something. I'm not saying it's going to be free of charge, but having someone spending days and days working on your laptop is probably not worth the price of the manufacturer saying, send it back, we'll fix it, and send it to you or send you a new one or whatever it's going to cost. Probably going to be cheaper.
That's how complex this was. They did that. They got me a new motherboard. They did that. But this stupid encryption software wouldn't let them rebuild it. Once they did, then eventually, 3 steps into the process later, they did find there was more hardware things going on. So maybe you can argue they should have done that sooner. But at that point, it was other stuff that got, sending that to the manufacturer wasn't going to fix my problem other than, I get a new image and I guess it would have got me to the same place I am. I would have just gotten a new computer. But it was at that point, it didn't look to be a hardware problem. It looked to be a software problem.
So I guess at this point, the only thing we can do is just hope for the follow-up story to be a better one and hope that by next Monday or whatever it is, you'll have received your new laptop. It's going to work beautifully and you'll be ready to work.
Yes, that's exactly where we are. Please God.
Perfect. Well, wish you the best with that. Can't wait to hear the follow-up story, Max. Thank you very much for sharing today. Hope you feel slightly better. And I'll be talking to you next week then.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, it helps, and we'll talk soon.
Perfect. Thank you, Max. Bye.
Thanks, Julien. Take care.